Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to your performance portfolio template tutorial. I am going to walk you through today one of the most important tools that you can leverage throughout your career. Whether you are essentially getting ready for a performance review or you are just trying to keep a clean record of all of your accolades and wins and work and value that you have created throughout your career, this is the template for you. We are going to keep track of all of your wins and develop a pitch for whenever you do have a performance review that is going to help set you apart using this evidence to showcase your value. We're going to effectively collect and organize all of your wins, as well as develop a pitch for your performance review whenever it comes time for that, to showcase that evidence-based value, to pitch yourself with confidence, clarity, and conviction. So make sure you have your copy downloaded and let's walk through this template step by step. And I'm actually going to give you, it's a little bit vulnerable for me, but I'm actually going to show you my own performance review template that I used to use before I left my previous job so that you can see where the inspiration from this came from and how it can actually come to life. This may be one of my favorite agendas of the whole entire Avolv curriculum. Today, we are going to capture all of your high-level details for your background and context. And then we are going to thoroughly explicitly detail out all of the value that you created in your major projects at this level. Then we're going to do the same thing, but for any other extracurricular projects or value that you contributed at this level. And then you're going to capture all of your feedback from this level. So this could be from mentors, it could be from peers, it could be from clients or project leads. This slide is going to help you organize your feedback and showcase what actions you took to address that feedback. And then we're going to capture all of your quotes and kudos. So we are just going to take all the snapshots and all of the digital comments that were made about you and your work and log them in to the slide here. After completing all of those activities, we are going to use them to create your performance review pitch. This pitch is what you are going to use to advocate for yourself for your next performance cycle. So really important that we do the legwork up front, and then we'll get to that pitch. And then we'll have a really great repository of value to use in the framework of the pitch. And last but not least, we also will talk about how you can create the same repository for any of your previous year's performance as well, if you'd like this to be a holistic document capturing everything, not just at your time at level. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, so once you open the document, you're going to see your overview slide. And anywhere in the document that you see the brackets, that is what you're going to change. So first at the top, change your job role, the department that you're in. Go ahead and make sure that you mark the last time that you updated this document. This is going to be really important for the next time that you update this document. And then go ahead and add your first and last name. And then it's optional, but it's also just a really nice touch to also add your headshot, especially if this is being sent or presented to anybody else other than yourself. So next, we are going to jump into the background and context slide. So again, anywhere that you see brackets, go ahead and replace it with your own information. If we look at this table at the top in the pink box, you'll see the performance review cycle request. You want to be really clear on what is the desired outcome you want for this performance review, whether it be a promotion, a raise, maybe distinctive achievement award, something like that. You want to be very clear about why you are creating this document and what it is for at the present time so that you know what the last request was upon your next performance cycle. And then you have some details about your working time at the company. So add your start date, add your current role title, add your LinkedIn page. If there's any internal pages for the company, like portal pages and stuff, you can add those too. And then you can go ahead and add your performance summary. So this could just be a quick bulleted list of any important or notable accolades, achievements, maybe major wins at work or for clients. You want to put just high-level details here. And then you have a continuing education summary. So as you have completed new degrees, certificates, trainings, etc., go ahead and put a bulleted list of those important ones here. And last but not least, you have your notable plus ones. A plus one is a volunteer initiative or, those little activities in your job that you raise your hand for that really aren't a part of your job description, but you still kind of absorb the responsibilities for them anyway, or maybe you volunteer yourself to take them on. Go ahead and add those plus ones here. So that can look like leadership positions, volunteer engagements, maybe some different event coordination for like your market unit or like holiday parties. It could be personal or professional development initiatives. It could be mentoring, whatever you see fit as like a plus one that still does good on behalf of the company, but just isn't really in your job description. It all still counts. So make sure that you add it. Okay, so to get the ball rolling, let's talk about your action items. And before we jump in, for all of these action items, please replace your information with the text in the brackets inside the template. Now, let's talk about number one. Very simply, you're going to insert your information and your professional headshot into the title slide, letting everybody know this is your document. Number 2, on the section break slides, those are those purple slides, change out the proper information for the month and the year so that it accurately reflects the timeline in which you are choosing to use this file. And then number 3, take a minute to fill out your high-level details in the table for the background and context slide. This is going to be helpful just over time for you to have at your fingertips. I can't tell you how many times that I personally have referenced this slide, and it's very helpful, especially if you have somebody advocating on your behalf, to be able to see very quick high-level details about your track record and involvement. On the next slide, we're going to skip this for a minute. We're going to come back to it, but this is your pitch. So I'm going to go through this formula after we've collected all of the evidence in the current year section. So let's go there first. What you want to do is reflect on what have you actually done in terms of major projects, initiatives, or volunteer activities for this year. What have you contributed to the betterment of the company or the clients that you work for? So for these first 2 slides, where it's major projects at level and then those extracurricular value, those +1 initiatives at your level, add the project or initiative title, the objective. This is like the summary of the goal that you were trying to achieve for that specific project, and then what the contributions of your work did. So like, what value did you deliver? What work did you perform? Like, what are the actual tactical things that you did? And then below that gray line, you want to list your outcomes. So like, what were the results that you reaped from the work that you did? What were the deliverables? What was the actual value? What were the improvements generated from that particular project or initiative? Just a pro tip, you always want to try to put quantitative results. That means if you can put a numeric value to what you did, either as like, I cut costs by X%, or I increased revenue by X amount of dollars, and I can like tie my name to it, or I did X amount of sales in this quarter or something like that, which was like the highest amount, or whatever, I ranked like second, etc. If you can put a number that you can showcase that value like relatably, tangibly, and especially if you can show the growth of your value that you delivered over time, that is the key. That is the biggest key factor and differentiator here that will get you to be considered for the next level. I'm telling you, it's super, super important. Like, I can't stress that enough, that is something that is going to set you apart here. If you can tie your name and show your direct or your indirect impact by quantifying your results of how you actually helped your team, the company, clients, etc. These next action items are super critical to crafting your performance review pitch. So make sure that you do not skip this and you take ample time to gather and collect your thoughts for positioning your evidence well in these slides. For number 4, fill out the most important details that made the biggest difference for your major projects and extracurricular value demonstrated at your level. And then after that, we have your feedback at level. Why is this important? Because as you are continuing to grow, you really want to make sure that you are collecting constructive feedback without defense. What does that mean? Don't take it personally. Like, constantly be seeking feedback. Ask your bosses, ask your supervisors, anybody who you consider a mentor, or even your colleagues. What did I do well? Like, what are some affirmations or maybe positive themes that you found in my work? What could I do better? Like, what are areas that I maybe messed up or that could be improved upon? Like, it wasn't optimal, I guess, in your eyes, or you see areas that I could grow. What could I do better? These are areas for improvement. It's like common themes mentioned to develop your personal or professional growth and constructive feedback. And you know what? It's good to hear it, because if we're only evaluating ourselves, like, that's not doing us any good. We need to be seeking feedback from other people that we respect. That's really important, because you could be getting feedback, but it could be nonsense, and it could be from somebody that you don't respect or you don't look up to, or who doesn't actually have the authority to tell you some of those things. So be wary about it. But whenever you receive feedback from somebody that you respect, somebody who's gone before you, somebody who could, just wants the best for you, that's what this section is about. And then finally, the next, it's active developments that you are pursuing and actions that you have taken to improve upon that feedback, to close the gap between what you did well and what you could do better, so that you can be the best possible professional that you can be for your position, for your company, for your clients, etc. And then for number 5, fill out any constructive feedback received at level and your approach to address it. And last but absolutely not least, you want to document your kudos. This is so important. Go ahead and add screenshots of quotes, of emails, of IMs, of articles, of LinkedIn posts, of anything that helps reinforce your story for your performance outcome or review or the work that you've done. I say collect all of your kudos. And I would just say over time, as somebody new says something good about you, go ahead and just store it in a folder. And then whenever it's time for you to update this document, which I would recommend you just do it just once every 3 months, like give yourself 20 minutes to just update some details in this document so that you don't lose them and you remember them. Go ahead and add them here. And this is going to be so helpful for you to pull from those quotes for crafting your pitch. And it's also just really nice, like whenever you have imposter syndrome or you're up against something really big, you can go back to this and say, oh yeah, I remember whenever I thought that was something that was really big, but you know what? I did it. And like, look, it was like, it did impact people for good. I have quotes from clients saying that this really helped them, or my supervisor saying you did a great job on that, etc. Those sentiments are really powerful to help fuel you and just make you remember you can do big and scary things at any time. It's kind of just a pool of affirmations that it's nice to just go back and reflect on sometimes, because yes, like your work comes from within yourself, but sometimes it is really nice just to look at those like nice and positive sentiments of things that you did, maybe especially for hard things that you did, and to say, oh yeah, I forgot, like I can do this. I've got this. So just something else for you to go back on over time. To wrap up this current year portfolio section, copy and paste snapshots of any and all of your notable kudos or quotes about you at your current level. These are going to be very useful in crafting your performance review pitch. Here is the heart of this whole document, your pitch. So now that you have all of the evidence, we want to develop a 1 to 2 minute pitch summarizing your impact on people, processes, and projects. Really think about how your efforts have positively contributed to the company. Where possible, use quantitative metrics that showcase your direct or indirect impact on your work or team initiatives, both internally and externally. Next, any feedback or quotes that you've received. So if any team or department leaders or mentors have made notable quotes about your work and performance, try to incorporate at least 1 or 2 as is applicable. Don't like overload it, but go ahead and add really strong ones that support your claim. Next, how your work reflected the company's values. So here you want to know where your work has demonstrated the company's core values, like official core values, or advanced their mission or vision statements. Next, above and beyond, where did you go above and beyond expectations? Where did you step up or lead when there was a need? Where did you go the extra mile without being asked? Did you initiate or coordinate anything new that provided the company, your colleagues, or clients additional benefits? How you pursued growth or learning. Highlight how you've taken ownership of your growth. Mention any upskilling, certifications, or knowledge that you have pursued during your job better, especially outside of your regular responsibilities. Next is the feedback loop. So wherever you have received previous performance feedback, note how you have intentionally made improvements or actions in your work to address it. And last but not least, what is next? Briefly express what kind of growth, work, or initiatives that you're intending to pursue next, especially if you are granted the performance outcome, but also I want to emphasize that this should also be despite the performance outcome. So it makes it very clear to them that you are a dedicated, excellent worker, like a top talent worker that they should keep around, and that regardless of like this outcome, that you want to do and be the best person that you possibly can be as a professional for the company. It's going to say eons about your character. But look, you can't just say these things. You have to actually pursue them and follow through with them. But noting this next, it's going to communicate to the performance review audience that you are going to strive to be the best version of yourself to meet and exceed expectations. Last, just finish strong, restate your value, and express appreciation for the performance review committee for considering your request. This is not a time to shrink. Like, be humble, of course, yes, but also be bold, because you have the evidence to back it up, to showcase what you're worth, and you need to not be shy about asking for it. Practice reading it out loud. It really helps whenever you verbalize what you're saying, because I'm telling you, it's always awkward writing about yourself. So just make sure that you say it so that you can kind of take out the things that seem clunky while you're writing it. Put it in the tense that you're actually speaking to the person, or that the person who is speaking on your behalf would be saying to the review committee. Go ahead and just write it in that particular tense. And then the last thing is just don't wait the week before to do this. Just set aside 20 minutes to just edit and update this document about once a quarter. That's what I used to do. And I'm telling you, I was so happy that I did it, even though it's just like, it's just another exercise to add to your plate. Block off like 20 minutes on a Friday. I would do that. I literally had a recurring calendar event where on a Friday, I would have like 20, 30 minutes to go and update this document. By the time that performance reviews came around, I was so happy that I did that because I wasn't scrambling in my head to remember all of the details about all of the different projects and initiatives that I was plugged into over the year. Now, this is the most important action item of this whole document. Number 7, use the most valuable points from all of the slides that you just created from the current year section to draft your performance review pitch. Use the suggested prompts in the performance review pitch slide to help enhance the evidence that you choose to present. Next, I also have a section for any of your previous years. This is optional, especially if it's your first time going into the workforce, then you probably won't have previous years. However, over time, you want to make sure that you're collecting and updating this document year over year. So for me, I'm going to show it to you. I'm a little bit nervous about it, but I'm going to show it to you. I have all of my previous years, and it was so cool to see the growth that I had over time and all of the things that I accomplished year over year that I forgot about at times, that I was like, oh yeah, man, I was a part of that, or I did that. I forgot this could help me do my next engagement. So it's an opportunity for you to be able to go back and look at your professional story and log it over time and just be proud of it. Like, reflect on those outcomes, track your feedback and trends over time, log your key projects. This just makes it easier to spot your growth. And it also helps you to polish your resume, update your LinkedIn or any internal talent portals or profiles as well. You can duplicate these slides as many times as you need for any of the years that you have been working and you see fit to log your information. For the previous year's portfolio section, repeat steps number 2 through number 6 for any that you would like to log beyond this current year. Now I'm going to go through my own document that I created that inspired this template. This document, it's an old template that I used at my old job that I created. And here's the thing, I really thought about recreating the old copy of the template just so that it matched this template so that you could see it. It was going to take me a lot of time. I just thought it was unnecessary. And I also thought it might just be a little bit disingenuous because every single one of these playbooks that I create, like, I use every one of them. I don't create or publish anything that I don't do myself, because if it's helped me and I've actually seen value from it, then I want you to have the opportunity to also reap that value from it. So in this case, I want you to see the actual document. Like I said, this is a little bit vulnerable for me because I didn't like tweak or edit this. This is my actual performance review. This is from me going from being a consultant to a manager at my old firm. So just for context, you would come in as an analyst that's like coming out of college, and then you would be a senior analyst, and then you'd be a consultant for about 2 years, and then you would have the opportunity to become a manager. So this is me going from being a consultant to a manager. And I'm going to show you that log of that 4-year span for me of what it looked like from me coming into the firm all the way to me making manager. I did block off sensitive information just so that you couldn't see any like old colleagues or client names or logos, just to protect their anonymity. What a word. It's like Nemo and anonymity. But if you took the purple blocks off, like, I think you could just imagine like this fully coming to life, right? I'm going to keep this super high level. I'm not going to drain any of the content. So I just want you to see how this can actually be used for yourself. All right, so here we go. Little me. That's actually my headshot that I used for years in my professional job. It was like whenever I was a junior in college, I took that photo. So I was in data and AI, and I was headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina. That was my home office. And this particular template, I had updated it in August of 2023. So if you can just go back to then, this is where we're at. Next, we have my background and context. So I have my start date, which was several years before, it was about 4 years before, in September. The current level that I was at was I was a consultant. And then I had some links to some internal tools. And then I listed all of my client projects. So as a consultant, I was commissioned to a project for a certain period of time on a particular role. So this is me listing out all of the details of my client projects. And then you have notable plus ones. So for me, these were like really big initiatives in which I was managing thousands of people, and I would have either events every single month, or I'd have really, really big events at the end of the year, or I'd have quarterly events. And then there was even an initiative that's not logged on here. I guess I didn't do it until the following year, but I created this like data and AI day for our entire South market unit. So all of these events were things that benefited the good of the company, or the good and the camaraderie of our teams and our people, or, you know, the different philanthropies that we supported at my company. But it wasn't directly tied to client work, which is my main role and responsibility as a consultant at the company. And then I also listed my strengths. So this is just like a quick hit of my Clifton strengths. You can add that to on yours if you want. And then I have my education here too. Go Tigers, Roll Wave for LSU and Tulane, but you can add that on yours as well if you see fit. And then we had this little black ominous box in the corner. We had this thing called a TQ, which was your technology quotient score. Essentially, your intelligence score for all of these different technology initiatives that they wanted the entire company to be studied up on. So if you had the full score, that was a good indicator that you were staying on top of that task. Okay, so for me, I have my consultant year. This is my second part of my consultant year because, like I said, it was like a 2-year period. So in here is my pitch. Super packed, but I said it out loud several times. I had a note over here over to my people lead just to tell him, look, go ahead and cut this down as you see fit. Go ahead and use your own words. I timed it under 2 minutes, but with your own style edits, it could be less than that. The parentheses were for reference on what I was quoting. So whatever project, whatever +1 initiative, whatever feedback, whatever person said something, this was the opportunity for me to just share. This is where I got it from. So some of that is sensitive and it's blocked out here. So as you can see it here, it has my introduction. It says, today, I'd like to make the case for a promotion of Peyton Thompson to manager. Super clear and important, to the point, right off the bat. And then it goes into reflecting on Peyton's performance, her credentials, and her consistent value, the contributions throughout the years. It has become evident that she is qualified and ready to take on this new leadership position. I think you'll see that she's already operating at the degree of this level through her involvement to date. I had 2 ways that I broke this up. One was for the performance on paper, including projects, people, and practice. That was really how we kind of measured our performance as consultants. What projects were you doing? What were you doing for your clients? What were you doing to contribute to the betterment in your particular department? I guess that's kind of the similar way to call it practice. How are you developing them? And then your people, how are you actually dedicating your time to bettering other people at the company, whether that be coaching, mentoring, doing one-on-ones, doing recruiting, doing interviews, showing. We had these core values called truly human core values. So it's just in what ways were you stewarding people in a meaningful way and making meaningful connections and relationships. There's a little bit of reinforcement there. And then I had here the characteristics that were off paper. So using the formula for your pitch, you can see that you can plug in what makes sense to you, makeshift it however you see fit. But all throughout here, it's riddled with my impact, the evidence, the quotes, references, how I'm growing, how I've grown. It's all here. And then, of course, I have just a close, and I tell him that you can go ahead and add or edit any of this as you see fit, because he knew my story. He knew where I was at, and anything that he didn't feel was right to say, I gave him the complete autonomy to be able to change this as he see fit. He was always so glad that I gave him this, because he always just said that he read off of it, because he was like, this is what I would hope to say about you. So I just think if you have a manager that you can bring this to, that's super clear, to the point, has evidence in it, it makes their job so much easier. So again, I'm not going to go into all the details here, but you can see I have the client value at level. So this is a project that I did. I have my main contributions up top. I have my tangibles at the bottom, and then I even have the leaders on the project. And at the top, I just had extra on that project. And then I had the client value at level. Just for these, I broke it up into 2 separate slides, because at this point I was only working on 2 projects at that time. As you can see here for the +1s, this is how it usually looked for the rest of my year. So I had, my program where I was coaching all the new joiners. I had the lunch and learns that I had developed. That was something that we did every single month for our South Data and AI community. And then we had volunteering, where I just volunteered for a bunch of different makeshift things for that year. So that was something that I listed here. And then I have Kudos. So for this, the point here is that I just want to show you that you can collect all of your Kudos here. And it's important, especially from anybody from leadership, to just go ahead and note any of the important sentiments or accolades or accomplishments that you have. You can see here, I have client sentiments, volunteer support, role opportunities, project team sentiments, community support. These were projects and initiatives that I did. So I think you get the point. It's just go ahead, snip it and mark it in here, save it in here, so that you can go ahead and reference it in your pitch. I just want to show you that I have collected this year over year. I'm not lying whenever I say I use this template year over year. So at this point, I wasn't pitching for manager. I was just pitching for a raise. So I have my pitch summary here. I have my project value at level here, my +1s at level here, some feedback, owning alignment, building your community, cultivating leadership style. Those were all sentiment that I had gotten at that point in time. And then I have more just snips of all of the different activities that I did. And then this was one of my +1s that I was really involved in. As you can see, it's I'm showing year over year what I did with the students and how many students we actually reached. So at this point, I had done 1,800 students. By the next year, I was really excited because we doubled that number, which was really cool. And then I have my senior analyst projects, +1s, feedback, the let's hear it. So you can see it's stacks over time, which is so awesome, so that you can just keep all of your really big project initiative and sentiments here of all the good work that you've done. For me, it was fun to go back and see this and say, like, I forgot that I did some of those things, or that I was capable of doing some of those things. And so just for you, I hope that it's something that you really appreciate as you do this exercise for yourself as well. So as you can see, it's all there. And I would fill this out. I'd send it over to my career counselor to make the edits to my pitch, which, I mean, he said he didn't do, but I'm not sure because I wasn't on the performance review call, so I don't really know. However, what I do know is that he always told me that this was so helpful, and it was so great to have everything in one place for my whole story, to be able to say, like, look at where she has come over time. Look at what she has done over time for this firm, for her clients, the work that she's done. Like, she does what she says, and she says what she does. So that was always something he was really grateful for, because I was the one who wanted this performance outcome. Like, he was the one going up to bat for me. So I was going to do my job to do all the heavy lifting so that he could bat a home run for me very easily, so that he wasn't having to scramble and find all my information about me. No, I did it for him. And then he was able to go back and just kind of like sift through the pitch as he needed, or the evidence to go pull out maybe things that like I didn't know should have been in the pitch. That is the power of this performance review template. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that it's more than document to you. I hope it's a confidence builder as you're going through this exercise, something that you can keep as a career tracker. And here's the last thing that's really cool about this template, is that if you were ever going to go for another job, you already have everything that you need right in one place to be able to say, I have evidence to show you that I can do this job. It's just another tool to help bring value to the table if you're pitching yourself inside or outside your company. Use it to prepare for annual reviews, advocate for promotions or raises, apply for internal transfers, or update your resume with real results, especially if you decide to apply to a new job. Great job, everyone. If you followed along with me, your takeaways here are that you have all of your details for your high-level background and context that anybody would need to know at a very quick glance. You have all of the details from your major projects at level, your extracurricular value that you provided at level, your feedback at level. Any of your quotes and kudos are all stored here nicely in one place. You have your performance review pitch. And may I say, I am really hoping this helped you create a winning pitch for getting whatever the outcome is that you are looking for that performance review. But this formula has not failed me yet, so I hope it doesn't fail you. And last but not least, you have also now the portfolio and the repository of all of your previous year's performance. And remember, this isn't bragging, it is reporting. Yes, in your pitch, be humble, but you also want to put your best foot forward. You want to show people like, yes, I am capable, I am strong, I am competent, I should be a candidate that you should consider for this performance outcome, and I have the evidence to back it up. This is your document, and you're giving decision makers everything that they need just to very easily say, like, yes, you are ready for more. That's it for this tutorial. Go build your best year yet, and I hope that this tracker here is going to make it so much easier.